With Mars ingressing into Virgo, the divine masculine does appear to be reclaiming his throne through accountability, not through control. And so is he willing to stand firm in love without that armor around his heart? Because I do feel this card is revealing that the divine masculine is stepping into a new expression of power, not by conquering, but by surrendering to truth. There is a sacred redefinition of masculinity underway in these energies today. Divine feminine, 8 of swords in reversed. You're breaking free. You're breaking free from illusions, from timelines, and from the fear that you must wait to be chosen. This cage was actually never locked. This was a self-imposed prison that you made, and freedom was always yours for the taking. And so I do feel today marks a moment of liberation of the mind and the heart for the divine feminine, where she is walking out of her own emotional imprisonment and reclaiming self-autonomy on this spiritual path. The combined energies, the magician. Together, the twins are remembering that union isn't a waiting game. Union is a creation. The twins are awakening to the power of intention, as within, so without. And so I do feel this card speaks to alignment, manifestation, and that conscious co-creation, where both of the twins are being guided to reclaim agency and to activate the next phase of the journey in divine order. Are you ready for today's energy messages? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's get right into it. Hey, good morning. Welcome in and welcome back, everybody. How is everybody feeling? Let me know down below, especially after moving through the Mars-Uranus square on the weekend. I know I was feeling that pressure cooker of energy all around the upper chakras, and I had to rest. I had to recalibrate, and I was kind of pretty much in bed a better part of the weekend, to say the least. And so we are shifting from that 29 degrees Leo to the 0 degree Virgo energy. And so that frequency of the bold-hearted Leo expression moving into the 0 point energy of the detailed devotion and service energy of Mars in Virgo. And so there's a lot of layered aspects to the energies today, as you can see. And there is a heavy emphasis, I want to say, on healing, karmic closure, recalibration of our purpose, especially connected to the divine masculine collective. So first, let's talk about the archetype of Virgo. I'm a Virgo moon. I actually have a Virgo stellium in my birth chart, and I am a 7th house Virgo. And so Virgo is the archetype of the sacred servant. It is the priestess. It is the healer. It is the analyst, okay? And so you think of Virgo, she governs the energy of purification. It is a very feminine energy connected to routine, holistic embodiment. It is the energy of discernment and alignment through service, right? And so with Mars moving into Virgo, and Mars being the planet of action, drive, desire, and masculine assertion, there's a huge collective energy shift at play today connected to precision in the action that we take, right? Service-oriented movement forward. It is healing through practicality, practical effort. It is this desire, I want to say, to fix, refine, and improve. And this really is the recalibration of the masculine energy through grounded integrity. Now, keep in mind, we all do have an inner masculine energy as well. And so I just want to say this isn't impulsive, aggressive energy connected to Mars. This is purification. It's purifying what we no longer need, what no longer serves our mission work. And Virgo does hold a deep sacredness, okay? And the Mars transit, I feel, is all about taking this soul-aligned action that serves something so much greater than the ego that we kind of had to deal with Mars transiting through Leo. And so Mars and Virgo aspects, let's break these down, because we do see that semi-square to Mercury, and we've got Mercury sitting in Cancer. And so this is creating a little bit of a mental tension. It's a semi-square. It's not a full-on square, but there's tension, there's restlessness. When I think of Mercury, it is communication, but it's also connected to our thought patterns and our beliefs. And so this energy is pushing the twins to speak, and to act after you've truly processed things, right? We have to process things. And so we do want to be mindful, I want to say, of irritation or impulsive communication. And I feel this is where the divine masculine is likely feeling pressured to say something. I'm hearing that song, Say Something, I'm Giving Up on You. And I think it's Christina Aguilera, and I don't know who else sings that. If you know, let me know down below. And so he's going to be pushed to say something, even if he doesn't have clarity as to why he's pushed to say something. But this is going to be where all of these old communication wounds are going to likely resurface. Whereas you, Divine Feminine, I feel you are probably feeling frustrated with the lack of clear communication or the mixed signals. And I think you are being asked to ground in a response if there is communication. With Mars in that sextile to Jupiter and the Sun, along with the vertex, this is activating major blessings though, right? Blessings for taking the action in alignment with your spiritual path, right? And so sextiles create the opportunity to take the action, but we have to actually take the action. It's just an opportunity. It's an opening up of the doorway to union through healing our purpose and our service-based path, okay? And so there's a soul mission activation, I feel, in these energies, and it's going to require movement forward. So we have to initiate that movement, and this is a divinely timed portal to initiate that movement. And so there's an energetic push on the divine masculine side today in order to step into more responsibility and that mission alignment, which I do feel these energies are supporting him to do just that. And Divine Feminine, I want to say, you're probably going to start to see the results of all of the past healing work that you've been doing. I know a lot of us have been on the journey for a very long time. I can't believe, like, it's been 6 years since I met the counterpart. 6 or 7 years now. 7 years now since I met the counterpart. It was back in the beginning of 2018. And so a lot of healing work, right? And finally seeing the results of that healing work. And so this is where your energy is magnetizing a lot of new opportunities. So you're going to have to stay open, and you're going to have to actively receive these opportunities. We do still have Mars in that square to Uranus, as you can see. And we have Uranus sitting at exactly 29 degrees, which is a very highly karmic anaretic degree, signalizing completion. And I want to say crisis. I do want to say crisis because we have Uranus in the 12th house of Aries, connected to the masculine. The 12th house is the house of karma. The 12th house, I feel, is activating this unconscious masculine wounding and this karma in order for the liberation of these patterns, right? And so with Mars in the square to this energy still, it is forcing probably an abrupt shift, right? There could be an ego death. There could be a confrontation with the shadow energy for the divine masculine. And I do feel he's probably in this energy of feeling a little bit out of control. Virgo wants to control, right? Virgo seeks to have that control. I know I can be a little bit OCD at times. And I do feel there's an emotional overwhelm energy below the surface where the masculine is probably being pushed into a breakthrough moment today. Divine Feminine, you might be witnessing the divine masculine going through a breakdown to a breakthrough, and you're just being called to trust the process and to stay centered. We do have Mars in that trine to Chiron and the anti-vertex, okay? And so the anti-vertex, there is a soul-aligned, I want to say, redirection. There's a lot of shadow work with the anti-vertex, and there's a lot of healing that's going to put both of the twins back on their fated path. So there is a deep healing of these core masculine wounds, and we also have them, Divine Feminine, especially around identity, worthiness, and taking initiative. And so I definitely was working through the father wounding on the weekend, not only for my own self, but also the father wounding that both of my daughters have incurred in this lifetime. And so there's a lot of healing connected to father wounds, masculine archetypes, and that inner leadership and self-trust, right? And so when we heal our connection to the inner masculine. It does allow the outer masculine to evolve. We have Mars in that quincunx to Neptune and Saturn and Aries, which are in that conjunction. You can see Saturn sitting at 1 degree 22 and Neptune sitting at 2 degrees 05. And so a quincunx is a very uncomfortable aspect. It's kind of like that pebble in the shoe type of energy. And so there could be confusion between reality and ideal with that quincunx because it's an inconjunct aspect. And so there's a fogginess about the energy, whether it's just felt physically or it's in the mind space. There's a little bit of a fogginess about taking those next steps. And so really, I want to say surrender is going to be the solution in these energies today, okay? And so we can't force action if we're missing that clarity, okay? So I do feel a lot of the divine masculines may be feeling a little bit lost or unsure on how to move forward. You might be integrating this same lesson, divine feminine, with your inner masculine. That's where I've been sitting at. I don't even know how to move forward right now with all of these ideas that I've been downloading. And so when we learn to listen to our soul over logic, then the next step forward will be made clear. And I do feel, divine feminine, you are being asked to let go of control. Let go of control. Allow the divine masculine to find his own path and to find his own footing, okay? And I do want to mention, we also have the sun in Gemini today in a sextile to Chiron in Aries. And so this is a beautiful healing window of opportunities here, right? And these transits are basically happening simultaneously. And so there could be a moment of insight today that will bring that healing of this identity wound forward. And it could open up the doorway for communication between the counterparts. But truth will need to be shared, right? Truth does actually have the power to soothe and not harm when we learn to understand one another, right? And so we need to understand the value that we each hold within this connection, the voice and the role that we each hold within this connection. And we do need to go into that reflection of that mirror soul in order to gain that new insight. And so I do feel there's clarity coming. There's going to be a chance to shift these patterns, especially for you, divine feminine, connected to overgiving or waiting. We should never be waiting to be chosen. We should be choosing ourselves first and foremost. And so when we empower ourselves to move forward, then we can detach with a sense of ease. And so there's a huge, rich karmic ending in the energies today is really what this is looking like, along with a faded new beginning and soul aligned action. So I don't know, there's a closing right now. And we got to keep in mind, Uranus is going to be moving into Gemini at that 0 degrees, connected to the energy of the twins. And that's when a lot of shakeups are going to happen. So right now we're in a purification portal of all of these old distortions. And in the masculine collective, that's very strong. And the feminine is the one to hold that space. While the masculine navigates the underworld, I want to say, of the 12th house and this Uranus square. And so I do feel the divine masculine collective is closing out these karmic loops, especially connected to unconscious behaviors, addictions. The 12th house rules addictions, ego defenses, or even any fear-based control tendencies. There's a facing of all of this internal chaos, right? Uranus brings change and chaos and confusion. And the Mars energy is inviting the masculine into his service path. And so the masculine can go quietly or he can act erratically. But either way, there's going to be a breaking of the old patterns and a healing of the old wounds connected to self-doubt, anger, and lack of purpose. I do think he's likely going to feel triggered, but he's also very much being divinely redirected. And so journaling, solitude, physical movement, mindful movement, and breath work are always going to help us reconnect to our purpose without that pressurized energy. Divine feminine, you might be watching the divine masculine shift while you're being called to hold your center. But you are also, I want to say, being asked to heal the parts of yourself that want to fix or control a certain outcome, especially with Mars and Virgo. And you're likely learning to become a little bit more receptive about the next phase of your own personal soul mission. And so you're probably being called as well to set some new boundaries, especially around communication or energetic exchange was a loud one. And so ground yourself in nature. do those clearing rituals, cleanse your home, sage your home, spiritual baths. Speaking your truth with compassion will always assist you, and just stay receptive. It's not about being passive. It is about being receptive. And so I just feel this Mars ingress is not about rushing into union. It is about clearing everything that's in the way of this sacred service path, our sovereignty, and our soul truth. And so the divine masculine is being purified through fire, while the divine feminine, I feel, is being called into that deeper trust and that deeper discernment. And so this really is the kickoff for the week ahead of this major karmic cleanse, soul healing, and that practical realignment. And so trust in any redirections, because the more we serve our own path, the closer we do come into that resonance with our counterpart and can call in that spiritual union. So let's go a little bit further with the tarot and the oracle cards. Let's see what other messages need to come through from the universe and from the guides. If you are curious about learning a little bit more about your birth chart, I do have a free guide, free guide down below, and I will send you the link to download the basics of understanding your birth chart. And I also have written a 22-page ebook, a twin flame ebook, talking about the stages and the phases of the journey and mastering the journey like a pro, and understanding that it's not just about romance, it is about mission work. If you're curious about the book, comment twin flame book down below and I will set you up with that link. But let's get into it with these cards and let's see what other messages need to come through today. All right, let's break down the energies for the Mars in Virgo ingress for the Twin Flame Collective. And the card that did come out with the oracle messages today for the Divine Masculine is the card of face your shadow. And so the frustration I feel that a lot of the divine masculines are feeling really is just a reflection of their own shadow. This really is that wounded inner child energy asking for love. And so I do feel, in context to the astrology, that Mars square Uranus at 29 degrees with Taurus in that 12th house really is that deep karmic unraveling, where the Mars, or the masculine drive, is literally facing the underworld, confronting those very energies that have been suppressed, denied, or avoided. This is an ego purging energy. That's what this card is indicating. An identity shifting moment that is demanding the divine masculine take accountability and own his part in the pain. And I do feel this really is revealing that the divine masculine is standing at a spiritual crossroads, where all of the old survival strategies, all of the old masculine defenses and control tactics, they're not going to work going into this new cycle. And the Mars Chiron energy, that trine, I really do feel is providing that portal for healing, but only if the divine masculine stops resisting the mirror. Virgo energy is saying clean it up. Uranus energy is saying break it down. And so his shadow really is not the enemy. The shadow is not the enemy. The shadow is basically the wounded protector seeking that, I want to say, reintegration. And so there's a lot of identity wounds. There could be a lot of misplaced anger or projection coming through today for the divine masculine, where he's being called to own the past damage and his own self-sabotaging behaviors. We all have them. And so we have to become conscious of the unconscious behavior in order to reclaim back our integrity and that inner stability. And so if the divine masculine takes the time to surrender and do the work, he can create that space for that heart-centered action, and he can realign with that union consciousness, okay? Divine Feminine, I love the card that came out for you. It just confirmed everything I talked about in the astrology. Be open to love. Allow yourself to receive love. Allow yourself to receive support from others. Take that risk of opening up, because Mars in Virgo, I feel, is inviting you, Divine Feminine, to step away from perfectionism or any fixing tendencies and to soften into the energy of receptivity. The Sun Chiron sextile, I feel, is also supporting you healing these wounds connected to not feeling safe to receive or needing to be so strong for so long on your own. And Neptune and Saturn, that quincunx, is reminding you, Divine Feminine, to trust the unseen path and surrender control. And so I do feel this card is saying you are being called into your receptive essence. Who doesn't think about romance when they think of Paris? And so we're here to receive, not to be passive. And this is through that embodied feminine trust. Your heart is being stretched wider and wider and wider. It's asking you to receive without needing to prove anything. And this isn't just about romantic love. It's cosmic love. It's communal love. It is self-reflective love, I feel. And right now, I think you are being called to learn how to receive without earning, to soften all of your control tendencies, and to trust emotional vulnerability. When we let down our guardedness, then we are able to open up, right? But we have to also be aligned with discernment as well. And so as the divine masculine kind of collapses all of these old ego structures, you are being called to open up your heart and hold that frequency of non-attached love. You have the ability to receive. You don't always have to chase, but you have to stabilize your connection with the divine and allow divine timing to unfold the rest of the path. The combined energies today was refine your attention. And so notice, I want to say, notice what attitudes and behaviors align with your heart and which attitudes and behaviors sabotage it. And so there's a cleansing of distortion with this coming through as a combined energy, where we're at a pivotal realignment portal energy for both of the twins. And so there's pressure here, I want to say, to reframe the inner dialogue, the inner narratives, and to collapse all of the outdated thought loops connected to these trauma imprints, okay? And so this does point to mutual awakening, a moment probably of mirrored awareness where both of the counterparts are being asked to examine their patterns, examine your choices, examine your intentions. Are you acting from love or are you acting from fear? Are your behaviors aligned with your true desires, or are they aligned with coping mechanisms? Because we do have to break the old patterns. We have to come into that soul-based realignment, and we do have to clear the distractions and the distortions by embodying spiritual maturity. And so there is a calibration moment coming through in the energies today connected to this card, where any energies that aren't aligned to that union frequency, they're going to have to fall away. And so each of the twins, each of the counterparts have to refine how they show up for themselves, for their healing, and for the connection. So let's talk about the bottom of the deck. Very similar to the combined energies. Reevaluate your priorities. And I just got to let's take a peek at this one. Choose your friends wisely. We will become the company we keep. And I'll just leave it at that, okay? But let's talk about reevaluate your priorities, because maybe it's about a reevaluation of a social group as well. But put aside all of your thoughts, I want to say, of personal comfort and personal gain, because we can never, ever escape the consequences of our choices, right? And so I do feel this is a big card asking you, are your actions aligned in integrity? Are your priorities aligned with soul growth or ego grasping? Because with Uranus at 29 degrees, still aspecting Mars and the Neptune and Saturn energy, this is like a calling out energy. And I do feel this hidden energy reflects that collective karmic checkpoint. And it might be connected to a social group or a group of friends. And so this is like taking moral inventory. This is all about radical integrity and letting go of all of the old ego goals. We have to accept the consequences of the choices that we made. And we have to choose the soul over comfort. And so if this connection has been misplaced or misused for any ego gratification or codependencies or fantasy, it's time to cleanse it, okay? When we reprioritize, then we can return to love, healing, and service. That's when the path is really going to open up again. So I do feel there is a connection here where a social group or a group of friends really has created a block, and there might be a re-evaluation of a social group or social structure with this shift today, okay? So let's talk about the tarot breakdown, starting with the divine masculine energies, the top row, the 9 of Pentacles. I want to say this is the headspace today. This is what Mars in Virgo is helping the divine masculine mentally process or purify. And there is a theme of self-worth, independence, material security, and inner contentment coming through for the divine masculine. So mentally, I do feel the divine masculine is being urge to understand that true strength comes from within. It's never going to come from external status or validation. Mars in Virgo is sharpening this awareness and pushing him to clean up the mental clutter about worth equals achievement, okay? And so that semi-square to Mercury, I feel, is also forcing the masculine to confront the outdated thinking around success, control, and self-reliance. And so the healing focus today for the masculine is a letting go of over-identification with material comfort and luxury or surface level independence, and moving from performative success to earned sovereignty. We need to release that illusion that love weakens the divine masculine, okay? And so I love that the Emperor card came out, and it came out upright today. I love it. This, I have to say, I feel is the heart space. And we do see the angel wings. We see he's got an ace of coins and the world energy floating above his left hand, which is the hand of receiving. And so there is an emotional or spiritual healing here being catalyzed through this karmic shakeup. There's divine order, there's sacred masculinity here, there's emotional discipline, there's stability with this Emperor card today. And so the Emperor in the heart space energy is powerful. This is the divine masculine reclaiming his masculinity at his core, but not through control, through the inner discipline, through emotional accountability, and through showing up for his purpose, right? And Uranus is shaking loose those suppressed emotional rigidities, and the Chiron energy is inviting the divine masculine to redefine what true leadership and love looks like, healing that wounded father archetype, replacing control with emotional wisdom, learning how to lead with integrity and the heart. That's what begins that new cycle, right? And so the 9 of fire, or the 9 of wands, the last card out for the masculine today. And this is the physical action. This is the aligned action that the divine masculine is being pushed to take. And you can see we got the wands behind and we've got the wand in front. He's tired, I think. He's tired. I do feel there's a theme of perseverance, that wounded warrior, and boundary setting. I do feel this is the moment before the breakthrough, and I feel he's tired. He's tired, but he's not done yet. And I do feel he's being pushed into courageous service. This is the card of service, but not at the cost of his truth, right? So I think he's learning to protect his energy. I think he's learning how to pick his battles and to trust in his own resilience. And so I feel a major release of a burnout pattern with this card today, and that commitment to the inner healing work. And that will be the path of external alignment. And so I think he's becoming a little bit strategic too, not reactive, but he's being strategic in his next move that he's going to make. And so 9s do indicate completion. A cycle is coming to a close. Now, divine feminine energies for the headspace for you. We have the Knight of Fire, or the Knight of Wands, in reverse today. And I do feel this is where you are being asked to shift your perspective. You're being called to pull back, reassess. If you have been in a cycle of overextending or pushing, or chasing, or if you've been emotionally charged, this is saying refocus, realign your mental fire towards sustainable intentions rather than chasing, okay? And so slow down, break free from the impulsive thought looping, release that anxiety about movement or progress, and find clarity in stillness. There's no need to rush. Pull back. 7 of Wands for you, divine feminine, in the heart space. This is the inner knowing that I feel is supporting surrender and self-trust. There's inner courage here. There's energetic protection. This is you holding your ground. The heart is learning that yes, you can be open and you can be strong at the same time. And I do feel you are being challenged with emotional discernment. What battles are actually worth fighting, divine feminine? Ask yourself that. Where does trust become a shield instead of a sword? And so when you hold your truth, then you can let love in as well. And so let go of the need, I want to say, to defend past pain and really begin to create that space for vulnerability. Trust that surrender does not equal weakness, okay? The physical action that you are being called to take today is the 8 of Swords in reversed. This is what you're being called to embody. Liberation, choosing truth, releasing self-imposed limitations, liberating yourself from mental entrapment, particularly thought patterns of fear, abandonment, or feeling stuck, being stuck. Mars in Virgo is showing you that any small shifts in routine, speech, and boundaries will help anchor in a new sense of freedom. You're breaking your own spell that you've put on yourself, right? Because the 8 of Swords is a self-imposed prison. This is you stepping out of victim consciousness and walking away from any limiting environments or limiting beliefs and aligning your daily life with that inner clarity, okay? That is the path to freedom. Does say free will on the card. Let's talk about the combined energies between the twins, the union trajectory with today's energies is what I want to say. We have the Magician as the shared mind. This is ruled by Gemini and Virgo. This is manifestation, empowerment, preparedness. This is conscious creation. This is reclaiming agency. This is the mirrored mental narrative that is being brought into the light, where both of the counterparts are being shown that, yes, they are co-creators of this twin flame journey. Mars into Virgo is bringing clarity on how thoughts, feelings, and actions equal manifestation. There's going to be no more waiting, no more blaming, no more deferring power. This is the awakening of conscious union with intention. Letting go of feeling like you're the powerless twin, letting go of that narrative. This is embodying magnetism, not desperation. And this is creating from self-mastery. The magician is a self-master, and it does not create out of emotional chaos. And so the shared heart energy today is the Three of Pentacles. This is the emotional truth that is strengthening the bond, soul collaboration, building trust, mutual growth. Okay. And so this is the foundation of the sacred partnership. Okay. This is where both of the twins discover, hey, let's build something real together. Let's build something emotionally, energetically, and spiritually together. This is a healing cycle. This is a realigning cycle where the twins can collaborate together instead of opposing with one another. And spirit in the background is the architect of this collaboration. The twins need to learn to replace competition with co-creation and to build that inner trust, because that will create the manifestation of external harmony. When each twin honors their individual talents and the soul work that they each have to do here separately and together. And the shared path forward, I thought it was pretty interesting, because we did get the Five of Pentacles, or the Five of Earth upright, with the Four of Earth reversed. So there is an Ace of Pentacles at play here. If we take 4 away from 5, we have an Ace of Pentacles at play. And so the next tangible shift towards union really is abandonment healing, releasing of that fear-based control. And so this combination of cards is deeply karmic, and it does confirm the death of the separation illusion. The twins need to purge the fears of rejection, the fears of abandonment. They've got to purge that scarcity mindset, any patterns that created that push-pull dynamic, any patterns that created the ghosting, the silence, the disconnection. The letting go of control opens up the gateway to true security and union. And so we're transmitting wounds of lack into abundance consciousness is what this is telling me, where we're choosing vulnerability over emotional withholding and opening the heart by surrendering those ego defenses. Okay, so really beautiful energy. There is an opportunity for a brand new beginning here if that wounding can be released. Let's talk about the hidden energies on the bottom of the deck, because I do feel this is strongly connected to the upcoming Cancer new moon, which is a lot of emotional integration. There's confidence reclamation, there's completion, there's hidden truths coming through. And so I kind of feel we are in a divine pause before a major emotional breakthrough. And so we got the Queen of Wands, we got the World, and we've got the Six of Wands in reverse. So there's a reclaiming of that magnetic confidence in these cards. There's a completing of a karmic chapter, and there's a releasing of a false victory or a forced outcome. And so surrender to the unknown is what this is saying. Surrender to the intuitive path, because I do feel the Cancer new moon is going to be that seed point. The Cancer new moon is going to be that seed point for the emotional rebirth. Once all of the illusions of control, urgency, or needing to win, we can't win at all costs. We have to surrender the need to win. And so I think this is the calm after the internal storm, the rebirth through that truth. Okay, and so let's talk about the final oracle messages, the universal guidance that is supporting the twin flame collective as we navigate this karmic Mars portal and shift into that soul aligned service and wholeness. So I love that we got the crown chakra upgrade. That just confirmed for me all of that pressure cooker energy that I went through with the upper chakra energy all weekend long with the Mars Uranus square. And so this speaks of divine connection, holy experiences, and miraculous energy. And so this does confirm that the Mars and Virgo ingress is not just about clearing physical patterns or karmic residue. It really is activating a sacred remembrance at the level of the crown chakra. Work with the crown chakra, work with crown chakra stones as Mars moves into the mutable earth energy. The masculine principle is being grounded in a new sense of divinity, and the entire collective is being reattuned to this higher intelligence and this multidimensional truth. And so I do feel this is a sign that divine masculines are receiving spiritual downloads, even if they can't yet articulate them or understand what is happening. And divine feminines are being used as the vessels of the divine frequency and this healing embodiment. And both of the twins are shedding the density so they can reconnect to source, their inner wisdom, and this mission. And so I think there's going to be sudden clarity through dreams. I know dreams have been like so vivid lately, sometimes a little bit confusing for me. I do feel clarity through channeling or synchronicities. There could be a greater ability to trust in divine spiritual timing. There's a lot of heightened intuitive knowing and a feeling of that soul truth I feel returning. And so anchor in this activation through breath work, through grounding practices, through silence. Let the light codes integrate by giving your nervous system peace. Less stimulation equals deeper embodiment. I just want to sleep all the time. It doesn't matter if I sleep 10 hours every night. I just want to sleep, sleep, sleep. So rest. The body needs rest to integrate all of these light code activations, because the bottom of the deck we did get the star being healing codes. And so there is important information coming into the collective where the wounds are being healed, and we do need to take that step back to recharge. And so there's like this cosmic mechanics energy behind the scenes, connected to all of this turbulent energy. And so we are rewiring the twin flame blueprint, and the old wounds have to rise to the surface so we can recalibrate them in real time. And so oftentimes it feels like we regress on the path. I know I felt that recently. Like I feel like I'm going backwards. I feel like I'm regressing. But this is actually a part of the rebirth where we recalibrate at the cellular level. And so spirit is confirming that this is ancestral and soul level wounds that are being dissolved, healed, and integrated. And it is tied to abandonment and distortion of the masculine and feminine. And then we can ground in that new spiritual purpose. So both of the twins are undergoing an energy system upgrade. The DNA and light body recalibrations and the release of the unconscious trauma that we've carried through all of these lifetimes and through all of these generations connected to our lineage and our ancestry. And so lean into rest, lean into hydration, drink lots of water, rest, go for nature walks, salt baths, solitude. Stop over explaining. Stop trying to over figure it out. Healing happens on a frequency level that words just can't really touch at times. So keep that in mind, because oftentimes it feels like we are becoming undone, but we're going through an activation. Earth Star activation is the chakra right above the crown. And so when the Earth Star chakra is activated, we do have to take that grounded action, and we have to anchor in those light codes. And so we're being rewired for that divine embodiment. And so there's a lot of sacred discomfort that we have to feel as the ego unravels the density of the illusions of separation and all of these outdated templates of love and purpose. And through this portal, our wounds are not just being exposed, they are being witnessed. We have to witness them ourselves. They're being witnessed by the divine, and they're being rewoven with new light codes. And so trust in the holiness of your becoming. We're not unraveling, we are becoming. And so trust in the journey, okay? Your connection to source is always going to be stronger than the current confusion. And even in the chaos, we have to remember this is part of the divine healing as well. And so love never should be chased. We receive love by returning to our truth, aligning to our truth. And so when one twin heals, it ripples across the entire soul bond, and then it ripples out into the universe. And so we're not losing anything real. The old versions of self and the old versions of relationships that can't ascend with us, they're all being left behind. So trust the process, okay? Leave it at that. If you would like to go further with a personal reading or a twin soul reading or a synastry chart or some coaching, some mentorship, do feel free to check out the links down below in the description box. I'd be happy to get you booked in. If you're not quite ready for that, then do feel free to check out the membership side of the channel, where I do go live every Thursday at noon for zodiac sign specific messages. And I do hope you have a great day, everybody, and I will see you all again next time.